welcome to Wildly Curious, a podcast that tells you everything you need to know about nature, and probably more than you wanted to know. I'm Lara.
And I'm Katie, and today we're going to dive into the world of freshwater ecosystems, which is home to some of the weirdest and, I would think, most unbelievable creatures you've probably never have heard of.
Dive in, yeah.
You like
I
that
love a
pun?
good pun.
But we're going to be talking about, I don't want to say freaks of freshwater or freshwater freaks, but that's pretty much, we're going to talk about things that you can find in freshwater that are just, I don't think, talked about enough. Just like the bizarro
Yeah, and we're
animals.
not talking like cryptids, because we've done that, right?
Yeah.
Like real things.
These are real things. Real live things. I don't have any nature news.
Oh, I have an update. Someone reached out to me after our food safety episode that we did right before Christmas, and they wrote to me saying, hey, just FYI, because we talked about how when hamburgers all chopped up, more bacteria is introduced because of the amount of slices, right?
Yeah.
We all know that. I was told that BTW, Costco, tenderizes all of their steaks before they put them in the packages, which means they stab them a lot with a fork, which means that you cannot just sear a Costco steak. You should be cooking it through because of meat tenderizing.
Interesting. And clearly Costco
I love Costco. I fully support you, Costco.
Yeah.
But cook your meat.
And your foot-long hot dogs, but
Yeah.
they can't be the
Dude,
only
yeah, I love
ones.
Costco.
There's no way that they're the
No,
only
probably
ones.
not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess if you like a steak like I do, which is still pretty red, like
Yeah, me
medium
too.
rare, definitely, then make sure it's not being tenderized first if you can try and find that out.
Just try to find the non-tenderized meat.
Hey, excuse me, could you tell me, have you pounded this meat?
Have you tenderized your meat today? Wow, this is the first episode of season 11.
And we're already talking about pounding meat. I'm dead. Or I just can picture myself at a grocery store going up totally innocently asking that question and then realizing it just like I do on here.
Right.
And halfway through my sentence just start dying laughing.
Because you just
Or I'll be with my
guy-
toddler asking a question like that.
Because you just asked this poor guy, probably like some like college kids, like, do you tenderize your meat often? Like,
And then they just start, it's a whole thing's just embarrassing.
there are so many situations where either myself or I see somebody else get into a super embarrassing, awkward situation. I'm like, oh, I miss Laura. Like, just because it's like, man, now I'm going to have to be thinking about that too. Because yeah, I do like the steaks I have too, not quite, you know, I don't know. Because I don't like them, I don't know. I don't like them done well
I
done.
still like it squishy and bleeding.
Yeah.
But definitely, so medium rare for sure. Or medium at the most. I mean, I'll eat any steak. Let's be real.
Yeah, but
if I had it the way I wanted it.
yeah. Huh. I mean, I guess I'm trying to think. I guess my only nature news update is aliens, man. I mean, they're just...
Yeah.
I think-
As always. Hey, guess what? We're just going to keep bringing it up. There's aliens.
aliens. Aliens. Well, it's a biology science discussion that I still don't know why. Again, why aren't people freaking out more about it? I don't know.
Because there's way too much else
Crazies.
to be freaking out about right now.
Alrighty. Well, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Let me go. Let me just go.
Okay, good.
Okay, I have 3 freshwater things. One of them I know what yours is because we came up, again, like we always do, of the million freshwater animals out there. We chose, of course, one that was the same.
Of course.
So I did choose a different one. But let me start with, I have 2 that are very similar. I'm going to start small and get bigger. Because for me,
Okay.
a true freshwater freak is a large one.
Right.
Like, but
I do want to give a shout out to Jeremy Wade, who was sort of the inspiration for this episode, though, and Monsterfish. Is that what it's called? Monsterfish?
Nice.
One of my favorite
River monsters.
river monsters. Thank you.
River
I was like, what is? I was like, I feel like it's not river monster.
Shout out to Jeremy Wade. I don't remember your show, but
Yeah. Because first of all, I love fishing, which again is not a very good like opening tagline. Whenever you're like trying to date and meet guys, like I could totally outfish you. Not a way to impress them because I know I can. But he was definitely like the inspiration for this one because I love that show. I don't think it's on anymore, but.
Well, it's just kind of cool to know what it's out there besides just like the deep water creatures, right? Like which we've done before. We talked about deep sea creatures. We know they're freaks.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the ones that you might actually just run into
because
they live right around. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Starting off with the one that you might not run into, at least around here, is the vampire fish, aka the Piera.
Ooh, yeah.
Which sounds like a deep ocean animal. Kind of looks like one, but not quite. Okay, so a little bit of background. It is a type of tetra fish. So if you've been to Petco and you're looking at the fish, a lot of people get tiny little tetras, which are just like a fishy looking fish. Like they're not anything weird. But this is like a tetra from on a nightmare. So the term Piera is kind of a catch-all term for two fish in the same genus, but I wanted to focus on the larger of the two because it's cooler. And that one, the species is Armatus, which means armored water wolf.
Jeez.
Which is also a cool Latin name.
I was going to say, yeah, that's a pretty,
like,
as far as Latin names go, that's pretty badass Latin name because a lot of them are pretty lame.
Yeah, it's Hydrolycus water wolf, and then Armatus, armored.
That's pretty cool.
It's 35-pound fish, which isn't that big of a fish, but like, let's be real, it's a pretty big fish considering like what I fish out of a lake around here, you know? Like,
yeah, true.
So typically they're about 3 feet, but they can get up to 4 feet. This is the most common of the two that are typically referred to as this, and they're a thin silver fish with 2 giant fangs growing up from the front of their bottom jaw that are 2 inches long. So a 2-inch long teeth are pretty freaking long.
Yeah, just an underbite.
And it's like an underbite. Yeah. Kind of picture a barracuda. It's very barracuda-ish looking. Not as long. This kind of looks like just a normal fish shape, but with big teeth. And they're really thin, and but rounded. So they come from the Amazon, Orinoco, and Essequibo river basins. So South America, the Amazon. Not to be confused with like a piranha. We're not talking like lots of teeth. We're talking 2 giant fangs and then some smaller teeth. They like to live in fast, deep water, like rapids or right below waterfalls. But they can also be found in lagoons and other, actually a pretty wide variety of freshwater habitats around those rivers. So why do they have these teeth and how do they hunt? Well, they're ambush predators, like a barracuda. But they wait at the bottom of a stream. So they're hanging out like the rapids, the fast water, everything's zooming by them. They are like parked at the bottom.
Waiting.
In a riffle. Waiting, and they're perfectly camouflaged because they're this thin silver fish. They just look like the aerated water around them. And then when they spot another fish, they impale it with those 2 bottom teeth. Like there's like impaled, eaten.
You also know you've been like evolution-wise, been like sitting, chilling, cooking for a long time whenever like you're adapted for like aerated water. You know what I mean?
Right. That's so specifically niche. Like yeah. I like it fat. They live fast.
Aerated water. I like me some fast aerated water.
Yeah, these are all about chasing waterfalls. Yeah, just one of these vampire fish chasing like just a waterfall. They sometimes migrate upstream to spawn, which is have their babies, and they are considered a sport fish. Of course, anything with fangs like that, who wouldn't want to catch something that cool looking? And they're pretty abundant. They're not in any danger of being overfished or anything like that. They're a fairly common fish. So yeah, the vampire fish, 2 giant teeth. Gotta Google it.
Well, I mean, I guess it's a good like transition into mine because the first one I have also has weirdly spaced teeth because it's big teeth, but like not a lot of them, which is weird, which I find really weird. Because that's what I was gonna say whenever you were talking about yours. I was gonna be like, I wonder what. So mine is the Goliath tigerfish. So if you look that up, it very much so is like teeth, but they're like very much so spaced apart. So I was like, I wonder what adaptation-wise, like, what is that for? You know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah, isn't that creepy looking?
Yeah, and they're right. They're crazily spaced. It actually looks like if you were like, hey, draw a predator fish and then I tried to draw a predator fish, that's what it would come out
right?
looking like.
It's just like
it's very cartoonish looking.
Yes.
Like it's like a cartoon fish face.
yes, it's not
his eyes are crazy.
yeah, it's not like teeth side by side. It's like gaps.
It's an alligator,
Yeah.
like a straight up.
But even alligators have like it's tooth.
Yeah,
You know what I
you're
mean? Like side by side, where like this one is like spaced
this
apart.
is nuts.
Yeah, which is weird. Well, this
Ugh, I would never want that to
right.
bite me.
This one, okay. So this one also has a lot in common with the one that you talked about. Some weird similarities. So this creature dominates its habitat definitely with its size, power, precision. So let's explore a little bit more about the Goliath tigerfish. So the Goliath tigerfish, Hydrocinus goliath, is a freshwater giant native to the Congo River basin and Lake Tanganyika in Central Africa. These waters are the most powerful and dynamic on Earth, shaped by strong currents, deep gorges, and seasonal floods. This environment demands physical strength and adaptability, and the Goliath tigerfish is perfectly built to meet those challenges, which I'll talk here in a minute.
It's a big fish. Yeah.
So growing up to 5 feet long and weighing over 100 pounds, so literally my size.
Yeah.
It's one of the largest predatory fish in its habitat. It's muscular, which again, one of its largest, like what the F?
Yeah, you're like, ugh.
Yeah, first of all, I mean, the Congo is terrifying anyway. Like whenever you get into like the jungle part of it.
I'm sure crocodiles live in there. Yeah.
Dear Lord.
Giant crocs.
So its muscular body is designed for navigating fast moving waters, making it a dominant force in an ecosystem full of competition. As a seasonal breeder, the Goliath tigerfish lays eggs in vegetated protected areas during the mating season. And this timing ensures that the young have access to the resources they need to grow and survive. So they're pretty smart about it. So why is the Goliath tigerfish considered a freaky fish? Or whatever we're going to call this episode. The Goliath tigerfish isn't just another big fish. It's an apex predator that perfectly illustrates the bizarre, adaptations that you can find in a freshwater ecosystem. Like I was saying earlier, it's found and it's adapted to live in the Congo River basin and the Lake Tanganyika. I think I'm saying that right. No clue. 90% of the time I just say things wrong. I'm okay with it. Which are two of the most challenging freshwater environments in the world. The Congo River flows with immense power, featuring some of the strongest currents and the deepest channels of any river on Earth, while Lake Tanganyika's unique thermal layers and vast depths create conditions unlike almost anywhere else. That lake is Africa's deepest lake, where it can reach well beyond or around a mile in depth of a lake.
Yikes, that is really deep. Yeah, that's crazy.
Right? So thriving there definitely requires strength, agility, and hunter's precision, all traits that the Goliath tigerfish have in abundance for. So again, like I said, they weigh up or they can be up to 5 feet long and weighing over 100 pounds. And we were talking about the teeth a little bit whenever we started. Each tooth is up to an inch long, razor sharp, and they interlock perfectly like the teeth of almost like a bear trap, if you think of it.
That's got to be why that they're spaced like they have to be spaced apart so that they can interlock.
But if you look at it, okay, so if you look at a picture though, it's not like it's going to be like it.
I mean, they must literally.
I guess
probably to make a cage so that nothing can come back out.
I don't know, because even
but their teeth are thick, like the teeth on the fish I was talking about are thin.
Yeah, these are like teeth,
like shark teeth.
But it's still like enough space that I think. Okay, let's just say if you were a fish like in the inside, I feel like you could still like see out. Do you know what I mean?
Just giving them a chance. Yeah. They have a glimmer of this fish is actually just a psycho. They want their prey to have just a little bit of hope because it tastes better.
Right. The hope in its spirit tastes better. Like
I want it to be hopeful.
Right? Oh goodness. But those teeth, they're pretty big, about an inch or so long. And again, which I said, like they are, spaced a little bit apart, but they're specialized that they protrude even when the fish's mouth is closed.
Dummy.
Yeah, giving it an unmistakably fearsome appearance. It is creepy looking.
Fearsome? It
is creepy.
But I almost like it's goofy creepy.
It can
because of its cartoon.
But if you were a little fish,
yeah. Oh, yeah. But if you were a little fish,
it would be terrifying. Or like I'm the same freaking size as it. Like that would be kind of scary.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I don't want to get bit by that fish. It would hurt like crap. I'm guaranteed.
But again, like I'm the idiot who is like, dude, I would totally love to catch a fish like that. Like I vicariously lived through Jeremy Wade's show to be like, oh, that would be amazing. Meanwhile, I'd probably poop my pants and then some. Like as soon as I got it, hooked it on. Anyway, so the Goliath tigerfish hunting strategy is very similar to Laura. It's not just about brute force. This predator is opportunistic, known to hunt fish nearly its own size, birds, and even bats. Reports
awesome.
of it leaping out of the water to snatch prey midair sounds like a fisherman's tale, but it's very real. Okay, 5-foot fish, over 100 pounds, jumping
teeth.
That alone is
just end snatching. I mean, and also people here in America, people you're thinking bat, and you're like, oh, that's not so big. No, big fruit bat from Africa. Yeah,
which is insane. Anyway, because
so cool.
It's cool, but they're not slow. Like bats aren't
quite
slow.
A bit of money to see that.
You know what I mean?
No. But I imagine they're coming down to get water or
an insect,
or maybe it's one of those fisher bats or whatever. Yeah. And just wham! Like it would be so epic to see.
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely would be.
But like when you see like sharks eating the birds, right? Like you're like, oh.
But on this side, like as cool as I think this fish is, I'm still on the bat side. Like I feel so bad because I love bats.
Yeah, it would
they're
be
one
sad,
of my favorites.
But it'd be I would be like, this is one of the coolest things.
The coolest, saddest things I've ever seen. Oh my gosh! Oh, the bat, poor bat. So it definitely can explode out of water, catch bats out of midair. But so I think in itself, like the teeth being able to jump out and catch everything, I don't know. Again, you can't get any freakier than what it looks like because again, it's like like. I mean, again, depends on how you define what we're talking about as like the freshwater freaks and everything. But so the Goliath tigerfish for me is number one. It's teeth. Yeah. Just everything about it. But the fact that it can jump out of water, it's super armored. Your first one and my first one definitely have a lot in common, just completely different continents. But yes, that's.
Yeah, totally different. But again, the convergent evolution,
right?
I mean, like you are made for what you eat. It always ends up being that way. So this is
next freak. Go.
Next freak. Totally. Okay. So I'm increasing in size. This is how I'm doing it.
I'm so happy for you.
Next up is the Chinese giant salamander.
Oh, I didn't even think to do this one. This is a good
one.
Oh, this is a good
because
one.
this lives in fresh water, and I was like, it's bizarro.
Yes.
So this one is
first. If you guys are listening and you haven't seen this and you haven't, please Google it. It'll blow your mind of
that these exist.
That it exists. So please Google it.
It's straight out of an anime of like a spirit from the 100%. Wild came to talk to somebody. Yeah. Like if I believed in like earth deities, this is one of them because it's huge and ancient looking. Like there's just something about it. So the Chinese giant salamander, the Japanese giant salamander, and the hellbender that here in America are all in the same family. They actually think that, I just was reading on an article, they think there are probably actually more species because of the genetics they've been seeing.
Yeah.
So maybe this is because they live in remote places. Anyway. So it is the world's largest amphibian. So already pretty freaking cool. I chose the Chinese one because it is the largest.
Yeah,
the
it's the biggest.
Is just slightly smaller. World's largest amphibian, and also known as a living fossil, which if you haven't, go back and listen to our living fossils episode where we talk about what that means. But basically an animal that has not changed since literally the dinosaurs or before. Maybe not the exact same species, but can be traced without breaking since then, and hasn't changed that much appearance-wise. Okay, so what do they look like? Let me paint you a picture here. It is a giant salamander, obviously in the name. But what do I mean by giant? Because most salamanders that most people are thinking about are like 4 inches long. This one is commonly 3.7 feet. But they can get to be nearly 6 feet long. That's bigger than us.
Yeah, right? Jeez.
Like just me laying in the water. Just a giant mud puppy.
Right. Which is so crazy.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And 110 pounds, so they're little chunky guys. They have no gills. So that's a little different because a lot of salamanders that live primarily in the water retain gills, like an axolotl. Yes. But these guys, no gills. They're a mottled color of green, gray, and brown to look basically just like the bottom of a stream. They're extremely camouflaged.
I wouldn't be surprised, like hellbenders, because I'm from that area. I've never seen one. I would not be even shocked if I've like come across it and just haven't noticed it, because their camouflage is unreal.
Yeah, they're so camouflaged. Yeah. And they don't have none of their characteristics. Not only are they camouflaged, but they don't have any crazy. All of their features are small. So what I mean by that is like they have 4 legs, but they're really stubby.
They are stubby.
Really tiny beady eyes. So no crazy large features that might catch your eye, other than they're just big, thick body. They have a thick tail, a very blunt head, and they have a fold of skin all along the entire side of their body. So they look like their skin is too big for their body. Yeah. But it increases the surface because these salamanders breathe through their skin, like they get oxygen from the water. Mm-hmm. Typically, that's done with gills, but these guys don't have gills. Instead, they increase the surface area of their skin by having that long fold and extra baggy skin, essentially, to be able to breathe better. And then, of course, they just have those big. They always are smiling.
They are.
So they just look just happy in the water, living in fast-flowing mountain streams and rivers. Just living their best lives. I'm minding their own business. Entirely aquatic. These in particular, these salamanders, the Chinese ones, they live in the Pearl, Yellow, and Yangtze River basins.
I was going to say, I remember it being very specific.
In the mountain streams, right? Because since they're breathing through their skin, they need very aerated mountain, cold, and clean streams. Obviously not like the riffles in a mountain stream are what gives it the air. And then, of course, being like the first stop for water, it's the cleanest water. They're not going to live in a really polluted river. They'll die.
Yeah.
Pristine streams. What do they eat? Some people are like, I don't know what a salamander eats. Basically anything that they can fit in their mouths. Amphibians are not picky animals, really. I mean, it has to be alive, but otherwise, if it can fit in their mouth, they're going to go for it. These guys create a vacuum in the water. If you've watched an axolotl, it's the same kind of thing. They just like, and like just suck it in.
Yeah. Humans, again, human adaptation. We kind of suck, just like,
just gasp our food in without choking to death. Because Alora's definitely tried that and almost choked to death.
That was the one time my ex-husband and I thought that we almost, like, Luke almost died, was because he inhaled a nacho. Because he was, like, so excited about chips and cheese. He was like chips and queso. He just inhaled it, and we're like, he almost died.
Yeah, well, Alora, I've told to suck or slurp. Yep. That's a slippery slope.
Speak the truth, terrible. Lady.
I don't want
truth. Preach.
Oh, that was a bad one. All right. They hunt. They are hunters. They're predators. So yes, they fit anything in their mouth, but like I said, it has to be alive. They're not like eating vegetation and stuff if they can help it. They detect their prey using vibrations because they have nodes down their whole body to sense vibrations in the water because they're teeny tiny eyes. They can't, I mean, they're not really using their vision. They're mostly just using vibration and then just just like
imagine if that was if something even comes close, we're just like food. Like we don't even know.
Suck it in. Ask questions later. They're mostly nocturnal, which I actually didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
So they're coming out at night, and they're the males, which is actually also really cute. The males create a den where they protect their eggs. The girls will come in, lay their eggs, and the boys are like, this is my spot. And I'm trying to imagine, like, how does a salamander protect its den? I would love to see such a thing.
Yeah, really.
Because, I mean, our salamander at work, when you feed her, she's like an alligator. She's slamming that worm around. Yeah. But they're not the fiercest of creatures.
Yeah, no.
They don't have any sharp appendage, nothing. Right. Like, how did they just gulp at it? Like, how did they protect it? I don't know. And then, but once the eggs have hatched, the dad is donezo. I know there's no parental care. Most large animals, it takes them a long time to grow and be mature. They don't reach sexual maturity until they're 5 or 6 years old. which seems outrageous for something like an amphibian.
Right?
And they can live 60 years in captivity.
Goodness, I had no clue it was that long.
No idea. Right? Well, although my mind was blown because our salamander at work is a red salamander. Just normal salamanders can live to be like 14. That's crazy long compared to a frog and a toad.
Yeah, really. I didn't think it was that long.
It's got to be something about like their low key lifestyle, right? Like frogs and toads are all like, gah, 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 you know, like, but salamanders just chilling in the water, gulping down food, barely reacting to things. 60 years. That's epic.
I had no idea. I mean, that's why they're that big. Yeah.
That's an old, and again, like it looks like an old person.
It does.
It's all wrinkly and tiny. So it just looks like this wise river creature.
It does.
Like that you would go ask for a favor or wisdom. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like something like a quest giver of some sort. That thing knows things, all right? And
ow.
Also, never have I heard such a thing before. They actually can make a sound that sounds like a baby crying.
Dude, so this one I did know only because I think Nat Geo might have talked about this.
That's freaky.
Yes. So one of the Nat Geo like documentary guys I totally had a huge crush on. I forget his name though. But he did an episode with these guys and did the sound. That was the first time I realized that they even make a sound because I
didn't know salamanders could
make
noises. Yeah. So yeah, baby crying. And then last but not least is the saddest news, which is that they are critically endangered.
They are, yeah.
As with most, I mean, all salamanders are basically in trouble.
Or amphibians,
because of being, like, so sensitive to pollution. But that's actually, like, not even, well, it's definitely a huge problem, right? Habitat loss, all the normal things. But what is extra pressure on these guys is I think they said it started in the 70s, I want to say in the 70s, they are massively poached for exotic meats.
Aww.
Like eating a giant salamander is a huge thing. Like, because they're so rare. So let's get $1,000 a salamander or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people are just like, so now not only pollution, they need these very specific habitats.
Yeah.
Like they're screwed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we can take care of them in captivity, but surely they won't be around much longer in the wild.
Yeah.
I know. I just want to go chill with one. I would literally lay in a creek with a salamander. Just hang. I don't really like swimming. I just like hanging out in the water, so that sounds perfect.
I was gonna say, I don't know, the creeks, or cricks, I should say, back home, like they're pretty, pretty docile, like hellbenders and stuff. It's pretty chill. West Virginia, West Pennsylvania, where I'm from, it's just like,
just hang out.
Just go hang out. That was a good one.
Down at the creek.
Yep, that was a crick. That was a good one. All right. My next one, the giant freshwater stingray.
This is the one that I wanted.
I figured.
It's just so different.
It is. It's definitely a unique one. So the giant freshwater stingray, Eurogyminus polypus. No.
Guys, just notice that I never try.
I know you never try.
Katie's like, I will try and I will mess it up.
Every time. Doesn't matter. But not only is it one of the largest freshwater fish in the world, but also one of the most mysterious because we don't know a whole lot about this at all.
Which is insane considering how huge it is.
And because again, I feel like this is like eels where we don't know where eels really come from. Yeah. Like what?
How? I don't
WTF? Like how is it 2020?
We know a lot of things now. But not
it's
eels.
2024. We understand so much crap about stuff, but not.
We have discovered aliens.
But not eels.
It's the eels. They're eels.
Yes, right.
That's what it is. Or the eels are like their eyes. They're the eyes and the ears of the underwater
Could you
aliens.
imagine if this whole time it's just been eels? Like.
I met one once then. I did find a freshwater eel one time. Freaking out. The kids at in camp were not. I mean, they were excited, but I am losing it. I was like, guys, it's a freshwater eel. Like, no, I'm freaking out. You don't even know. This thing is amazing. And like, so if they are aliens, then I met
the only time I've ever seen a freshwater eel was when I was in Australia. That was it. But never a giant
Croydon Creek, baby. Our creek is clean enough for freshwater eels, which is pretty cool.
No, that is actually pretty cool. But never have I come across a freshwater stingray. Giant freshwater stingray. It's because they're found in Southeast Asia's major river systems, including the Mekong and Chao Phraya Again, no clue if I'm pronouncing that right. I looked these things up,
Sorry,
but
everybody.
0 out of 10 for pronunciation. This species has long been a source of awe for communities living near these waters, known locally as the queen of the river, which I found was interesting.
Ooh,
yeah,
I like
queen
that.
of the river.
Yeah. That you look at a stingray and you're like, girl.
Queen. Yeah, she is a queen.
Queen.
So it holds the place of regional folklore for sure, where its massive size and venomous tail have inspired tales of river monsters. And Jeremy Wade did do an episode on this one, I think. Physically, the stingray is perfectly adapted to its environment. Its wide, flat body allows it to bury itself in the riverbed, using the silt and sand as natural camouflage. It's a very muted brown grayish coloration.
Yeah, it's just mud color.
It's ugly coloration. But it helps it to blend into its surroundings, making it nearly invisible in the sediment-rich waters that it calls home. So
they must live in slow-moving, right? For there to be so much sediment on the bottom.
Say again?
They must be slow-moving rivers because of how much sediment
exactly. Yeah, definitely different than the Congo, the last one I talked about, which is just or your first one, which is just the vampire one, which is aerated water. No, this is everything's chill and slow moving here. So while modern science has uncovered somewhat details about the species, much about the giant freshwater stingray remains elusive. So fossil evidence tells us that the stingrays and their relatives have existed for over 150 million years, predating the age of the dinosaurs, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Oceans first.
Right?
Yeah.
So this ancient lineage gives the species an almost otherworldly quality, as if it's a living relic in Earth today. Which again, living fossils. Go check out that episode. Don't remember when we did it, but it was a while ago.
Yeah, and it was a good one.
It was a good one. This blend of natural adaptation and deep history has cemented a place in both science and myth, especially for the local guys. Or the local culture. So why does it fit our theme? Well, the giant freshwater stingray is definitely more than just, I don't know, another...
Your average stingray. It's freaking huge.
It's giant. So the body spans up to 16 feet and
that is outrageous.
And weighing more than 1,300 pounds. Which is just
I can't imagine existing in the water with something like that large without it being a whale.
Exactly. This is a freshwater.
It lives in a river.
Right? Yeah, this is a freshwater system. And
this isn't an ocean. It's excessive for no reason.
No.
Excessive for no reason. Big animals usually live in the ocean.
No, right? This one doesn't.
I mean, I'm sure the rivers in China are very large.
Right.
But, not even the Amazon has something like that.
Not this big. No, not. So... Again, what's astounding is about how flat or pancake-like that the body allows it to remain almost invisible, blending seamlessly with the sediment at the bottom of the rivers. Unlike more familiar stingrays that people think of, which often inhabit the open oceans, this species has adapted its unique challenges of freshwater ecosystems and has kind of used it to their advantage. So let's talk about some of those unique adaptations. So again, stingray, you think about the venomous barb. Most people think of the barb. Yeah. R.I.P. Steve Irwin.
R.I.P. Steve. I know where it was.
I know. Every millennial's soul just crushed a little bit. But so they have a venomous barb located on its tail, and this spine can reach lengths of up to 10 inches or just over 10 inches. And it is equipped with serrated edges, enhancing its ability to inflict definitely significant wounds. The barb is not merely just a physical weapon, though. It also delivers that venom that can cause intense pain, swelling, and tissue damage. This is the part I did not know about stingrays that I thought was incredibly cool. So the venomous composition, because immediately I'm like, okay, snakes, venom, hemotoxin, neurotoxin, kind of what is it?
A bee sting. Yeah.
So the composition is complex, and it varies among stingray species. In freshwater stingrays, studies have identified high levels of enzymes such as hyaluronidase, which increase the size of toxins of tissues, leading to greater tissue necrosis and inflammation. This enzyme actively contributes to the severe symptoms observed in envenomation cases. Interestingly enough, though, research indicates that venom composition can vary with the age and sex of the stingray. I had no
Whoa.
idea about this.
Very specific.
Yes.
Yeah.
So juvenile stingrays produce a peptide mix of pain-inducing agents, while adults have venoms rich in inflammatory proteins that cause tissue necrosis. So this variation suggests an adaptive mechanism to different ecological pressures throughout their different life stages.
Right. Like the juveniles are like, get away from me.
Yes.
It hurts.
Where the adult
Whereas
is
the
like,
adults are maybe using it to kill
you're
things?
going to slowly die a painful death.
Yeah. But like maybe they use it like in hunting, like in feeding. Whereas the juveniles are probably just, you're too close, go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, do they use their tail at all to hunt?
It doesn't really, not that I found. Again, we don't really know a whole lot about these animals at all.
Maybe they only use, like, maybe if it's really big, like a big fish they're trying to eat, they like shank it a few times.
Just shank it.
Smother it like a big death blanket.
Just shank it a few
then
times.
Shank it a few times.
It's
Cover it in a blanket and shank it.
I just imagine like a prison stingray. That's immediately where I go.
It's horrible.
Right? Oh goodness.
Nature's brutal.
But I didn't know that it varies depending on age and sex.
Oh,
I had no clue.
That's really weird. And no, I don't know any other animal that can
Yeah,
do
no.
that. I mean, like, there's more venomous and less venomous with age, but not actually different.
Yeah, not different.
venom.
Because again, I was like, oh, is this more of hemotoxin, neurotoxin? Like, what does it do?
Right.
No, it's totally different depending on the age and the sex of it. So the tail itself is highly flexible, allowing the stingray to deliver rapid whip-like strikes with incredible precision.
AKA shanking.
Again, prison stingrays.
Quick, a few quick
Right.
ones.
But this agility enables it to defend effectively against potential predators or threats. It's important to note that while envenomation from the giant freshwater stingray is rarely fatal to humans, it can definitely lead to severe pain and complications if not properly treated. So oftentimes when people get like hit by the stingrays and stuff, I mean, R.I.P. Steve Irwin, which was was he a stingray or manta ray?
It was a stingray, but from the ocean, but I don't remember what type. That one was just placement.
Yeah, that was just like horrible placement. Everything about it was just bad.
Like that just went into his chest. Normally that's not like, it's not like they're trying to go for your heart. That one was
just unfortunate. But so this one is, even though most of the time like the envenomation of it isn't going to kill you, it's secondary. So it's like infection or something else, like the necrosis that causes infection.
Gross, slow-moving giant river.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of other things. So despite its size and striking features, the giant freshwater stingray is one of the least, like I said, studied fish in the world. But Dr. Zeb Hogan, a biologist with the Megafishes Project, which I got to deep dive into that more, has been one of the few scientists to lead the significant research efforts of this species. And he truly is like one of the few people that actually have. So using tagging...
So interesting. I'm always fascinated by, if you're an ichthyologist, why aren't you looking at these
right?
things? These seems like the coolest things.
Yeah, the neat things, yeah. But I mean, you got to think too, I mean, I guess getting to it, finding them, you know what I mean? Like there's some definitely financial complications in the way.
And access, yeah.
But he was using tagging and tracking methods. Hogan and his team have discovered some of the stingray's migratory patterns and habitat preferences, but still, even then, much remains unknown. Some of the unknowns we don't know is they're still unsure about its life expectancy, like not really have any idea.
Well, because you can't keep this thing in a freaking tank. It's massive.
Yeah, right. It's
I guess juveniles.
Yeah, but it's too big to, and again, everything lives longer in captivity. So it's like, well, how long does this live in the, in real world? The stingray's breeding habits are also poorly understood, though its live-bearing reproductive strategy, a trait shared with its marine relatives, ocean stingrays the same way, is thought to give its offspring a higher chance of survival in the unpredictable environments. So that's the giant freshwater stingray, which is just like, we know some about it, but not a whole lot, but still super mysterious.
That's awesome. For my last one, sorry, Diggles, he's trying to sleep on me. I'm sorry. The last one, I'm going back to big toothy fish. This is my largest one. So I was like, all right, if I can't do the fresh giant stingray, what else am I going to do that's really awesome and huge? Because, like, for me, I'm just thinking, like, a river monster, essentially.
Yes.
We've been to South America, we've been to China, and now we're coming right back here to the good old US of A for the alligator gar. Which Katie and I...
Listen, we need to share this story.
Arkansas. We knew they existed.
Yeah. We had a docent at the zoo we worked at, which swore up and down she used to hunt alligator gar with a broomstick, with a hook on it. Broomstick and a hook. Mind you, when she told us this story, she's like 90, 100 years old, telling us that, yeah, she should just go out with her family and just...
I didn't even remember that, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no. And she was Miss Kentucky. Yeah, this lady was like Forrest Gump of the South in female version.
Awesome. She's really great. So it is one of the largest fish in the United States, which is crazy. Sturgeon are bigger, but I wanted to go with the gar.
Yeah.
Because they're cool. They're also a living fossil. So this is the third living fossil so far that we've talked about. They have been around 100 million years.
Oh my gosh.
These are fish that found their niche and just did not change.
So like, this is good. We survive. We're going to keep it right here.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. Yeah. So what do they look like? I mean, you can kind of picture, he's something called an alligator gar. You're like, okay, big teeth. So size-wise, I'm always impressed by giant fish.
Me
I'm
too.
just like, so typically not more than 79 inches, which is still
big.
Huge. Like typical fish, typically 79. But the record is 10 feet.
That's
10 feet.
I can't. For an alligator gar.
And it's not like the stingray, which is just all surface area and no substance. Right? Like, this is a thick fish. It is round. Typically, they're 100 pounds. But the record is 350 pounds.
That's insane.
That's like a sail. That's like an ocean fish, right? So the largest one ever was caught in the St. Lawrence River of Arkansas in 1930.
Not even shocking. Not even shocking.
No, yeah. They've got good, clean water.
Yes.
Big rivers.
It's clean. It's rivers, but there's like swamps. Like, not even shocking that the biggest one was found in Arkansas.
Yeah, and like not a huge population, so they're probably not being they weren't being overfished in the 30s at the time. So yeah, huge. Probably lived there forever. They look basically just like a torpedo. So these are ray-finned fishes. They're in the group of ray-finned fishes, which look very different from some of our other fish that we've talked about. So these are ray-finned fishes, which look very different than a lot of your typical fish. The tetra fish I was telling, that looks like a fish that everybody imagines in their head.
Yeah.
A ray-finned fish, these are like those living fossil fish, like the sturgeon, the gars. They look like a long torpedo, and they have really cool scales. They're called ganoid scales, which are diamond-shaped scales and hard as bone.
Yeah.
They're not like a flimsy little fish scale. These are armored tanks of fish. They're brown or olive colored, so they're really camouflaged. They have a short, broad, flat snout. So it looks like you took a fish and then you shut its face in the door because it's literally completely flat, a platypus. Like, it looks kind of like a platypus in a shape fish, or fish shape. And in that snout are 2 rows of needle-like teeth, and on the top, and 1 row on the bottom, which I actually don't think I knew that it had the 2 on top.
Yeah.
And not only does it have 2 on top, because, think shark, okay? No. Rather than them being like 2 rows close together, the inside row is more in the middle of its mouth, and those ones are the largest, and then the outside teeth are short.
Huh.
So it like traps the fish in its mouth and then prevents with the second row.
Again, this is another one where it's like those poor little fish are just looking out like, help me.
Yeah. This one lives, so the alligator gar, like I said, lives here in the United States, but specifically in the Mississippi River Basin and like the coastal plain of the Gulf of Mexico. So like Texas coastal plain right there, Louisiana. Mm-hmm. But most of the time in fresh water. However, they are pretty tolerant of brackish and salt water. Of all these fish, they're pretty tolerant, which has helped them live 100 million years. The water that they do live in is slow moving, like the stingray that Katie was talking about. These guys live in rivers, lakes, bayous, bays, and like I said, mostly fresh water, but sometimes salt. Feeding. Now, of course, if it has teeth that are sharp, it's going to be a meat eater. And it is also an ambush predator like my first fish. But unlike my first fish, it doesn't hang out on the bottom. It actually hangs out at the top. They've been known to just sit at the top of the water and pretend essentially to be a log and wait for things to come by and then just eat them. And again, eating anything that will fit in its mouth. Typically, it's fish, but it can also be birds, small mammals, reptiles, literally anything that comes by that fish or like lands on it thinking it's a log.
Imagine though, like clearly, okay, as far as we know, this fish does not have a conscious thought pattern, but
right.
Also imagine to be like how did it evolution wise, like how did it figure out like I am a log, I should act like a log. Yes. You know what I mean? Like how did because everything else is, I
guess, just more survived,
like
that hung out and did nothing.
Yeah, like do they know that they look like logs? Probably not, but they are, and you know what I mean. So they don't know why. They don't know why it works.
Toothy logs.
Yeah, they don't. They don't know why it works, but it does.
But it's worked for them. And then their life cycle is kind of interesting. I did not know that their eggs are poisonous to human beings.
Oh, I had no idea.
That's so random.
Huh?
Yeah, can't eat gar eggs. You can eat them, but not their babies. And that's not true of a lot of fish eggs. You can eat sushi, but not them. And their babies have an adhesive disc on, I think it's their top. I can't remember if it's top or bottom, but essentially they have a tiny little suction cup that they can latch onto vegetation. So when they're babies, they hang out in the reeds and the weeds.
Yeah.
And then when they get big enough that they're going to be okay, they lose that disc and go out into the open water.
Again, humans have adapted so suckily.
We're so yeah. And then, like I said, like all these large animals, we're talking long life and long time to get this big. So they don't reach sexual maturity until females, not until they're 11 years old.
Oh my goodness. That's
a long time to be non-reproductive.
For a fish, yeah.
Yeah. For a fish.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
And then females, because they take the longest, they also get to live the longest, thankfully. They live to 50. Wow. And then males lived about half that.
Yeah.
A 50-year-old fish is a pretty old fish.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, to get like a 10-foot giant girl, because that's who it'd probably be. It's the females.
Yeah, really.
But it's like, as scary as these look and the press that they get, like Katie and I were told, you do not go tubing on a river in Arkansas because you'll get bit by a gar.
Yeah.
There are no documented cases of attack of a gar on a human being.
For the record, Laura and I totally still
I would definitely have done it. And I definitely got out of my canoe.
Yeah, right? Like, we went kayaking down one of the again, Arkansas has some, it's a natural state for a reason. It has some gorgeous rivers and stuff to go down. And yeah, we didn't hesitate to do it whenever we unfortunately lived there.
I actually have been way more scared of the, what do they call them? Muskies. That are in Raystown Lake in Pennsylvania.
Dude, I've caught a muskie before, and those are
big fish.
I've caught a muskie before. I have a picture somewhere of it. Maybe I was like 12 or something. I caught a muskie. Dude, those things, that is, as a kid, when you catch those are pretty damn scary to catch.
Yeah. So, a gar is a respectable looking fish. But
gar is a respectable looking fish.
Like, scary wise.
It definitely is.
That's a giant fish with sharp teeth. But we're not talking, this is not a fish like a barracuda that is like, no. Like, this is a log with teeth. Pretty avoidable, one would think. You know what I mean? Like, ambush, as in, you have to bump into this fish for there to be a problem.
Right.
I can take that. And if I bump into a fish and get bit, that one's on me. So it's not like I'm, like, actively afraid of these fish.
That's fair.
And like I said, no documented cases. None. I'm sure there's plenty of stories, but no documented cases. Unfortunately, these are an endangered species because endangered in some states and threatened in other states because of overfishing and just habitat. You can't get, if you're not going to even have babies until you're 11, that's a huge blow to your population.
It is. That's a long, that's a very long time.
You can't have any other pressures, right? We've talked about other animals that have like, when they take that long, you can't have habitat loss and you can't have overfishing and you can't have pollution. That already you have been selected to have a hard time with the old population. And then, but they are considered a sport fish and a food fish. So people do eat them. People do fish for them for sport.
Oh, yeah.
And you can in the states that they are not considered an endangered or threatened species.
Crazy.
The gar.
Alligator gar balls, not balls, but the meat formed into balls are a very like popular like dish, which is bizarre. But it's almost like they like not a patty, but they would just make a ball out of them. You can get them in restaurants and stuff.
Like a hush puppy.
Yeah, essentially,
full of fish.
Craziness. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, my last freak is one of my favorites. And again, just because, River Monsters, Jeremy Wade, this is one that you'll constantly hear him talking about, is the arapaima.
Yes! Dude, I don't even know much of... The only thing I know about this fish, throwback, everybody, all of our young listeners are not going to know what I'm talking about. But guys, back in the day, when you could get computer games on a cereal box, okay? When they were pushing those computer games because they were new.
Yes.
One of them was the Amazon Trail. It's the best game that has ever been created for the computer.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps because it's essentially an Oregon Trail, but you're in the Amazon, so it's better. And you get to fish, and that's the fish that you wanted to catch because it was the most bang for your buck. It was. So I'm spear fishing.
Arapaima.
Spear fishing as a kid, learning about arapaima.
Well, I don't know why Jeremy Wade likes it so much, but it definitely, the arapaima is one that he talks about. So the arapaima, which is Arapaima gigas, one scientific name I can say.
Gigas.
The only, besides like gorilla, the only scientific name I can say.
Arapaima gigas.
Right? It's a true giant of the Amazon River Basin and one of the most iconic freshwater fish in the world. Found in slow-moving rivers, floodplains, and lakes, this fish has adapted to the unique challenges of its environment, thriving in the warm, often murky waters of the Amazon. So, scientifically, like I said, classified as the Arapaima gigas, this species is part of the Arapaimidae family, a group of fish that has existed for millions of years. The arapaima...
They're actually very similar body type. Like, their body type looks very similar to the gar.
It does.
As far as the tube.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
Yeah, not the snout part, but the rest of it definitely does.
And even the fact that it is a little flattened. It's just not...
Yeah, it's...
Quite the same.
It's not as extreme, but it definitely has some of it. So like I said, the arapaima is native to the Amazon River Basin, where it inhabits waterways rich in sediment and organic materials. These rivers and floodplains are dynamic ecosystems with water levels fluctuating dramatically between wet and dry seasons. And the arapaima has clearly had no problem surviving in either or.
Yeah.
Because again, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like dry seasons in the Amazon. It's not as drastic as that in Africa, but it's still pretty extreme. When it comes to the size, the arapaima is almost unmatched in freshwater ecosystems. Again, it goes up to, we know the stingray is already bigger, but as far as a quote unquote traditional fish, it can go up to 10 feet long and weigh well over 400 pounds. With its,
that's massive.
It's huge and incredibly strong.
Thick.
Yeah. Its scales are
They have these at the Baltimore Aquarium.
Yeah, I think they had them at the Pittsburgh Aquarium too. Because I think it was Pittsburgh. It was one either that or the Baltimore Aquarium that I went to, and I was like, oh, arapaima. And it was
they're in like the Amazon spot.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool I don't know, bucket fish list. I don't know if that's like a thing.
Yeah.
But like one of those species you're like, sweet.
Fish list.
But you know what I mean? Like one of those species you're like, sweet, I'm never going to see it in the wild, but like this is awesome.
Yeah.
So their scales are equally impressive. They have thick overlapping plates with basically like a metallic-like sheen that shifts between green and red hues. So this coloration provides excellent camouflage, helping the arapaima blend into the shadowy depths of the habitat that lives in the Amazon.
Christmas fish.
Right? I didn't even think about that. And I'm definitely like a color
green.
association person too. So the arapaima, other than its sheer size, is a textbook example of why freshwater ecosystems are home to some of the most bizarre and unbelievable creatures. Everything about this fish, including its physical traits to, its role in the ecosystem, makes it, to me anyway, the like freak of freshwater. Like it, because
the freak of fish.
The what?
The freak of fish.
Yeah, the freak of the fish. Like my Goliath tigerfish, this one also can leap out of the water with explosive force. And these leaps are so powerful that they've been known to knock over predators or even unsuspecting fishermen. So again,
I bet.
Yeah, you imagine
400 pounds.
Right?
Just.
But you imagine like those tales is like you come back and people are like, oh, they're fisherman tales. No, there's some legitimacy behind it. Because again, if you get hit by a 400-pound, 10-foot long fish.
Yeah, it's like very eel.
But yeah, who's going to believe you? No one. Crazy? Yes. But no one will believe you. So they're also an apex predator. The arapaima rules its ecosystem. Its diet includes fish, crustaceans, and even the occasional bird. Again, it leaps out of the water, showcasing its versatility and dominance. So I talked a little bit...
Which is so interesting because not like when you look at this fish, I mean, you could think predator, but it's not toothy. Every other fish we've talked about has been like very apparently toothy.
Yes.
This one does not show its teeth. You don't...
No.
You
No.
know.
No. But so here's the one of the cool things about it that we didn't really dive deep into any of the other fish we talked about. At least for the ones that I picked, or the other one that I picked, it wasn't. So the arapaima and it's like the armored scales that they have. The Goliath tiger fish that I picked, yeah, it's solid fish scales, but it's a little bit more than what a typical fish scale is. Arapaima, however, are a natural masterpiece combining both strength and flexibility to literally provide unparalleled protection. So the outer layer of their fish scales are highly mineralized outer surface that is exceptionally hard, featuring ridges and protrusions that act like natural armor. Scientists have measured the micro hardness at approximately 550 MPAs, which I'll get here to in a second, which is a measure of the pressure of force a material can withstand, MPA. So what is an MPA? It stands for megapascal, which is a unit of pressure or stress. 1 MPA equals 1 million pascals or 1 million newtons of force per square meter. For comparison, a human bone is about like 150 MPAs.
Like it can take 100 before it breaks.
Structural steel, guys, is around 250 MPAs for mild steel and about 500 MPAs for high strength steel. The hardness, like I just said, of the arapaima is 550 MPA.
Stop it. What?
So it is tougher.
Just diamond scales?
Yes, than steel. Like that's how hard.
How do you fillet it?
Huh?
How do you fillet it?
I mean, I'm sure you can still
them?
cut through it. You know what I mean? Because it's not like it's a...
Because you can't cut steel with just a normal
But
knife.
you can cut...
You must have to go between
I was
scales.
going to say, that's how you would have to do it, would be go between it. Because you can't like...
But no, you just, like, you try and stab this fish and your knife just breaks.
I mean...
Like, you're like, God, just nothing.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, that it has full-on armor.
It's amazing.
If there are any ichthyologists out there listening that can like...
Please tell us.
Please help us understand this more. Because, and again, it's like, okay, is this just taking, like, a scale in a lab and, like, analyzing it? Or, like, what's the function? You know what I mean? Like, is it like a...
Has anyone tried to stab an arapaima? Let's see. Not that I want them to. But if it's happened already.
Again, there have been several documentaries on this fish species, and several times people have gotten physically very hurt trying to catch one because whenever they lash,
the thrashing,
it's like destroys them. So it's definitely because of those scales. It's definitely rivaled some of the most advanced engineering materials that we found. So now the inner layer, which is like beneath that armor layer, lies a collagen-rich foundation arranged in a bollard or a twisted plywood type pattern. This structural design enhances flexibility, allowing the scales to absorb and dissipate mechanical forces, which is even crazier. So not only is it like...
what are they defending themselves from?
I don't know.
Dinosaurs?
Us stabbing them?
Like what?
Like
yeah, like how? Why did they develop?
I don't know. To rule the world.
So do we know? Are they a living fossil?
What?
How long have they been around? This
a long
particular
time.
fish. Do we know how long they've been around?
Yeah,
because maybe they truly did evolve to defend themselves from dinosaurs.
Yeah, Prime has been around 23 million years.
Because. Okay, well there you go.
So I guess it probably adapted like way back whenever swimming dinosaurs and stuff could
predators.
Eat it, and then it's just kind of kept it because it's like, well, everything is kind of evolved now, but I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, well, right. Why devolve?
Yeah. So the arapaima scales don't just stop bites. It prevents cracks or fractures from spreading, ensuring that the fish stays protected even under any sort of high impact force. So the other thing that makes an arapaima pretty crazy is its air breathing evolution, because they can breathe air, and it's one of its most extraordinary adaptations. So unlike most fish...
Yeah, I've heard about... There's a couple of other fish that live in the Amazon because of those muddy...
Yep, and they have to.
Waters.
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah.
What else are they going to do? So the arapaima is an obligate, like Laura just said, air breather, which means it surfaces regularly to gulp air to survive. This behavior is powered by its modified swim bladder, which functions as a primitive lung. So, like Laura said, because...
Well, you can see its little mouth is literally made for, like it's like...
Yep. Because it has to. So, because...
I didn't know it was an obligate. I didn't know, like, they just don't have gills?
Well, it's... They do, but because all the waters are so murky, because the oxygen levels are...
They have to supplement.
They have to supplement it with something.
Gotcha.
Because it's so stagnant or like sediment rich, like, and that's where a lot of it lives. It's not like it's polluted or anything. It's just it's so sediment.
There's just not enough air.
Yeah, it's so sediment filled that there's not enough oxygen there. So while most fish will struggle with those conditions, the arapaima thrives, dominating as the predator where oxygen is often scarce. So even if a fish kind of like wanders into this area, arapaima is like, boom, he's gonna be gone. So unfortunately, the arapaima's impressive traits have also made it a target for overfishing. Its size and apparently tasty boneless fillets are often highly sought after, leading to a decline in the populations in some area, not including, but also another factor is habitat destruction, because it's in the Amazon, and deforestation. So the arapaima is a really cool big fish, but which has evolved, 23 million, however long I said.
23 million.
Yeah, 23 million. And then we're the idiots that like are taking it out just because we're like, you don't get to live in your land. But it has some really, really cool features that, to me anyway, it's one of my favorites, but I also think it's like the apex, like, freak fish of freshwater for sure.
Dude, if for science somebody fished that fish and it was dead, certainly I would try to see what kind of impact.
Right.
Or that, are we talking, because even armadillos can reflect a bullet depending on the size.
Yeah.
What could this fish, if you shot a steel beam,
yeah,
it would do nothing.
Right.
If you...
I don't know, man.
Crazy. That is just the craziest thing I've ever heard. That's like a straight up dragon.
No, it is. Essentially, it is. Yeah.
That's so
arapaima,
cool.
one of my favorites. All right, guys. Well, that is our episode on freshwater freaks. Make sure you go check us on.
So not to totally scare you, next time you want to go wade around in a river. But
I mean, as long as you're not in the Amazon.
Stuff out there.
Yeah, I think you'll be okay.
But you can't even go here and
right.
No, not in the Mississippi River Valley.
Right. But yeah, check us out on Patreon. Also, we're on YouTube. I've been posting more of our videos on YouTube. We're going to distinguish a little bit more between YouTube and Patreon and kind of add some more things there for people who help support us, because Laura and I, our whole, $1.77 for these ads. Woohoo! Supporting us really helps us be able to continue this and everything. So yeah, go ahead and check us out on Patreon. I'm going to work on uploading some more fun stuff, but we're also do these edited episodes on YouTube. The unedited stuff is all on Patreon. So go support us so you can continue to help us. And thanks again, guys, because this is season 11, which is crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, and we got lots of good stuff. We're going to be doing it just like last season, where we did episode, minisode, episode, minisode, episode, minisode. So you will hear us again next week. It will start our minisode series.
Let's just tell them. Let's just tell them, because I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be really cool. So last season we focused on the caves, and then the season break we did bogs.
No, it was bogs.
This one,
caves, bogs.
Yeah, this one we're taking it out of this world, but and we're doing cosmic critters, which is different weird things we've launched into space, essentially.
Living things.
Yeah. So we'll hit on one episode next week, and those, like Laura said, will alternate. And so that's how we're going to go. We like that style. That seemed to be pretty popular. Got a lot of downloads last season, kind of alternating those.
Plus, it's sustainable for Katie and I, right?
Sweet Lord, yeah. we're busy moms, man, working full-time jobs. I wish this was our full-time job, but it's not. So we're busy. So these full episodes with mini episodes seem to work really well, and everybody seems to really like it. So yeah, so you're going to hear full episodes, and then we're going to go to these mini episodes, and we have some, again, we say this every season, but I am so excited for some of the episodes we have this season to talk about. We're going to hit on some pretty cool and unique things that we haven't hit on yet. And so I'm really excited for this season. So if you guys can go to Patreon and support us, it would mean a ton. It doesn't take much. I mean, most people won't even notice it out of their bank account, but it really, really, really helps Laura and I. So if you guys can,
go support us. Be able to actually, because it does cost money to do.
It does. So. Yeah, it definitely does. So until then, go check us out on YouTube, listen to more episodes, help us get those downloads so we can get those like 10th of a penny cents worth of ads.
Sweet ad money. Right.
$1.77. Laura and I got to split it down. So, all right, guys, thank you very much. And then we will talk to you next week for our first Cosmic Critter episode.
See ya.